Hello and welcome to Marketing 200 Week 7 Overview. This short video will frame Chapter 7, Technological Elements and Their Impact. These are the technological considerations you want to be thinking of whenever you engage in any international marketing campaign, and also the weekly reminder that, again, this variable is not within your control and should be addressed in any marketing campaign when you're doing your SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So, a key thing to keep in mind is that while there has been rapid technological advancement, especially over the last 50 years, it has a huge impact on the way we do marketing and how we can reach consumers, but the principles of marketing have still remained same. Much of the same strategies you use in traditional media will be the same as you would use in digital media, for instance. And thinking specifically about digital media, you want to look more closely at the infrastructure that is in place in each of the countries or areas of the world you're doing business, and also look at the intellectual property rights and how they're protected in the countries you're doing business. The chapter starts with talking about the many, many ways that marketing has been impacted by the rapid technological advancement, but one key concept that's introduced in the chapter is Moore's Law, which states that every 2 years, the number of transistors in a microchip will double and become half as expensive. And the real impact this has, not only on marketing but many industries, is that information continues to be able to be processed and disseminated much more rapidly as we move into the future, and the implications of this are still unknowable. Something to keep in mind is the more things change, the more they stay the same. While rapid technological advancement has transformed the field of marketing, it also reminds us that the principles of marketing have remained the same. While there might be infinite number of ways to now reach consumers that didn't exist before, we still need to plan for how we're going to reach our target consumer through an integrated plan, which requires the same skill sets for you to do research on situation analysis, your SWOT analysis, creating objectives and measures, along with a strategic plan, and also finally, exactly what tactics will you use. Well, the mix of that might change when you are considering technological advancements that digital advertising and media offer. It's not a different skill set than perhaps you would need in traditional media, with the exception of there are a lot more analytics involved and research, so there is an emphasis on those and similar skill sets that were not there in the early days of marketing. Keeping in mind that there's infinite ways to reach consumers, and also that technological advances change consumer behavior. You have to deliver your message much more quickly. You also have opportunities to get people to buy your product on demand. And also, you get to be able to, in some circumstances, know exactly where your consumers are in relation to your product and its placement to send them messages in that moment. So while these ideas sound scary to some, they are also creating more efficiencies in markets that save consumers dollars. So there's always a cost benefit to be aware of. So again, the more things change, the more they stay the same. You really just need to know and understand where your market is and make informed decisions about your market and the consumers within that market. One of the key things is infrastructure considerations. It will come as no surprise to you that not all nations of the world have the same level of infrastructure development as others. And so you need to understand to what extent that the consumer market you are trying to reach has access to mobile devices, and even what is the bandwidth and or the speed in which they're able to download ads and content and media. This all has an impact on your ability to deliver your message in a timely and effective way. Many countries that are a little bit more technologically advanced also have a digital divide where There is the haves who have access to the technologies, and a very large number of people who do not possess the mobile devices or the internet connectivity that you would rely upon in your marketing campaign. So being aware again of where you're doing business and who it is you are trying to reach, understanding the conditions within the country. Some things to look at are their telecommunications. Is it still very much about landlines, or is a significant percentage of the market you're trying to reach on mobile devices that wouldn't really rely on the landline or ground connectivity? Mobile phone usage, you might find many people within a country or market have mobile phones, but how do they use them, and to what extent do they use them to make purchases, and can they, based off of the technology and the phones that they have, actually use that device for that purpose, to engage in e-commerce. They may not have credit cards in that market. Might not be an okay thing for people to either culturally and or legally purchase goods or services online using a credit card. Also, if your product or company relies on location-based services, that seems to be something that is not always allowed in countries that have considerations in place around people's privacy. So just making sure of the not only customs and culture, but also the laws and also the actual infrastructure are the key considerations to keep in mind. And all of this needs to be analyzed and considered as how it will impact your marketing mix, your 4Ps, and your ability to reach your consumers. The last major topic addressed in Chapter 7 are intellectual property rights, mostly focusing on patents, copyright, and trademarks. When doing business internationally, you want to make sure what are the level of protections for your product or service, and specifically looking at patents, are your any inventions or trade secrets, those things that you own patents around, will that be protected if you are engaging in commerce within a market? Copyrights are those things that cover publications, and trademarks have protections around logo or branding. Please see Chapter 7 for a further explanation on each of those things. But another thing to always keep in mind is that while we would of course like to see intellectual property rights protected, there are also concerns across the world that existing laws favor the largest corporations and also can create injustices. So an example of this might be, especially in pharmaceuticals, where a large company is given a lot of public money to create a formula that is turns into a life-saving drug. They then will co-opt the patent of that drug and make sure that they are the only ones profiting from it, and basically create a monopoly around that drug, so it drives up the price. So many countries of the world have pushed back against some of the laws that were put in place to protect copyrights, patents, and trademarks, so that there could be more innovation and less injustice in those laws. So we may instinctively want to say, I need to see intellectual property rights and be strongly protected, but you do also have to be aware of the impact of that in places you're doing business. As always, each chapter ends with many considerations that you need to keep in mind while you are doing your integrated marketing plans. See a full list of those at the end of each chapter, but as always, this variable as well as the others need to be examined as to how they impact your marketing mix and your ability to reach your target market. If you have any questions, please message me on Canvas or give me a call. Take care.